Welcome back, boys and girls. We're going to be going through some leaks today on the brand new limited hero, which is probably going to be the most powerful limited hero yet, and maybe even for the foreseeable future. It's that damn strong, and I never said I would stop doing leaks. There's no other content other than leaks. This is all that matters, and let's get into it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Big thanks to everyone who helps with this sort of thing. Rukanchi, Panther, Erases, and T. Big thanks to them. And let's get into it. So, Sun Wukong is the new hero, as you can see right here. Sun Wukong is a hero of some sort of legend, or it's a character in some mythology or whatever that I don't know anything about. So I'm not going to talk about it, but just know if you look into the Sun Wukong stuff, it's pretty damn interesting because there's a lot of stuff about it. But Sun Wukong is in a lot of different video games. So many different games. I know Raid had it. Pretty much every gacha game has a Sun Wukong in it, right? So it is about time that Watcher Realms gets it. This is probably the closest thing we're going to get to a true collab hero, and it's pretty interesting. So to start off, as always, we're going to go through the stats. Stat-wise, he is very strong. It is very reminiscent of something like Kagiri. This hero is very similar in a couple ways to Kagiri, but just better, which we will get into for like general content. To start off, he has almost 29,000 HP, which is incredibly high. The defense is a little low for a fighter of this caliber, if I'm not mistaken, at 2,500 magic resistance, but pretty basic there too. We have 2 block, 19 cost, very solid cost for a hero, and 6,500 attack. I remember when I definitely would have freaked out about this type of attack, but it is kind of par of the course now. If they don't have this high of attack and they do physical damage, they're usually not very good. The attack interval is 2.6, most basic attack interval out there. Max rage is 800, which is pretty solid, and then the rage stuff is all pretty much the same. Now the interesting thing about this, coming after Nightmare and Watcher, which is its factions, and Kagiri's factions, and the fact that this is the next limited after Kagiri, we are probably going to get Gwendolyn during Christmas, but we're still getting this guy next in terms of the new ones. It is weird that they would go with the exact same faction. It's like the devs kind of forgot that Nightmare is not the only faction, but it's fine. He is a fighter. He has unique control and burst damage as its kind of tags, and 2 range, which is actually really important because lately we've been getting Twyla, Kagiri, all of these really good fighters who don't have range, and it really limits their viability. So this will add viability in stuff like Guild, especially with the high HP stat. He's going to be able to stay alive behind a tank very well because he won't be able to die as easily to things like bookkeepers, for example, or destroyers. So yeah, Sun Wukong, as you can see, this is what it looks like, almost completed from what we have, and now we can finally get into the kit. So the kit, well, let's start with the talent, as usual. The talent is kind of nutty, and let me just kind of break it down a little bit. So the talent, the 3rd basic attack, summons 1 Sage Clone within the ultimate's range. The ultimate range, let me go to a completely different infographic. I know it's kind of a trip, but bear with me here. Right here, you can see that this is essentially a vortex range. So the ultimate range is a vortex range. So he's going to spawn one of these clones within that range, which is really interesting. He can spawn up to 3 clones at a single time, so you'll have 3 of him on the field. And if we look at what the clones do, it inherits 100% of the hero's attributes, and each basic attack deals 70% damage to one adjacent enemy, and it takes 50% more damage. So it'll die easier, but he's going to be spawning them like crazy. They have their own health, so they're not like Wailing Skulls. They have their own health, so they can get hit instead of him, which is absurd. And he could spawn 3 of them. He's out here doing good damage because he has freaking crazy stats. And then he's spawning things. Sure, they take 50% more damage, which functionally is like they have half his health or whatever, and they do a little less damage. But there's 3 of them. He spawns them every 3 basic attacks, which is nothing at all. You're just going to have 4 units attacking at the same time just for Wukong. That is ridiculous, right? Like, that is insane. And then the stage clone, on top of that, has a 10% chance to inflict stun on hit. Keep in mind there are 3 of them. And if the target is immune to stun, deals an extra instance of damage. So, for example, in Guild Boss 1 or Guild Boss 2, he's going to be able to hit twice. I don't fully know about the soft phase. Maybe he'll just like max out the stats and he'll be really good in Guild Boss 2. But in Guild v Guild, this is absurdly broken. In all content, all fighter content, this is going to be insanely good. Okay? Now we get to the basic attack. That's just the talent, by the way. Just the talent. We're doing a pretty basic talent. Hits one enemy, normal amount of damage. Next we got the manual, which like I said has vortex range. Summons a large number of clones to deal 30% damage to one enemy 36 times and inflicts stun. Each summoned Sage clone increases the damage of each instance by 5%. But if we look at the updated sheet, if you didn't know, the reason why I'm showing this one is because it's just a bit nicer looking, but this one is a little more accurate, so that's why I keep going back and forth. Sorry about that. As you can see on the ultimate, it lasts for about 5 seconds. Initial range is 400, but max range is 800, can be scaled down to 700, which is pretty cool. And he deals about 30% to 45% depending on the skills with each of the clones. They hit each enemy 36 times. So it's almost 50% damage on each. Overall, they're doing like, I don't know, 14 basic hits of damage or something like that. That's a lot of damage. And inflicts stun, debatably the weakest stun in the game, but he's doing it 36 times. He's stunning them over and over again. That's really cool. Each summon stage clone, when skilled, I'm pretty sure, or maybe this is just a little bit updated, increases the damage of each instance by 10%. That's pretty cool. Now, aside from that, let's go over here. Also, this stun up here is 1 second. Anyways, the first passive, Golden Cudgel Strike. Basic attack has a 25% chance of inflicting stun. He is a great stunner. If this effect is triggered while the enemy is immune to stun, deals an extra 125% damage one time instead. Damage dealt by the hero and Sage's clone to targets inflicted with CC effects, such as stun, freeze, and immobilized state, increases by 60%. So, he's doing more damage to people who are stunned, frozen, immobilized, with CC, like really strong CC effects. Not something like slow, but just really strong CC effects. And his basic attack triggers it. And his Sage clones trigger it. And his ultimate triggers it. And all of this stuff. If we look at the updated thing with a little bit more stats, like I said, this is just how I'm going to be doing it, so whatever. We're going to have the Golden Cudgel Strike, and as you can see, it is a 1 second stun on the basic, and when you're skilling it up, the enemy gets dealt with 170% more damage. Instead of 125%, like it read before, when you skill up, you're doing 170% extra damage one time, if they are immune. If they're not immune, they're getting absolutely effed in the ass. Like, that's insane. Okay? Now the other passive, because we ain't done. We haven't even gone over the really strong awakenings. We're going to have the Golden Glare passive. When the hero or Sage's clone triggers Golden Cudgel Strike, by the way, the clones can trigger this too, which is insane. The hero gains 1 stack of Sunder. Sunder is something that can stack up to 5 times, so he has a stacking mechanic too, which is ridiculous. What the fuck? When using the ultimate of full stacks, all stacks of Sunder are consumed. And if we look over here, Sunder, what it does is it makes the hero ignore 40% of the target's defense for 15 seconds when fully skilled. That's insane. He's ignoring target defense. He's already strong enough. What the frick? So before we get into the awakenings, you just gotta know that, like, it's ridiculous. Also, clearly they nerfed it since we had this first draft of the information because it was too strong. But you kind of get the idea, right? He's going in. He summons 3 clones. They all do basics. Clones stun. He stuns. Everyone stuns. Then we're being hit with the ultimate, which is Vortex Range, summons a ton of clones, and deals damage to an enemy 36 times, each hit doing stun. Guild Boss 2, he's capping out the saw every time. He has a low rage cost. Like, he does so much damage. And in his kit, he ignores defense, which is easy to build up these stacks, by the way. It's not that hard to do that. And then he's like, he's doing extra attacks if they're immune, which is good for boss content. He is ridiculous. This is by far the strongest limited hero, and probably one of the strongest heroes being released soon. And we haven't even talked about the damn awakening. Obviously, we also have an exclusive artifact because he is a limited hero. You are always going to be able to buy the limited artifact from the shop. Well, not limited, exclusive is what I meant to say. And increases damage by 30%, and summoning Sage's clone restores 6% rage. What the hell? He's just getting his ult more often. He summons Sage's clones every 3 hits. He's doing 9 hits, boom, 3 clones. Each of them restores 6% rage. That's 18% rage. That's ridiculous. That's insane. And its A1 is really good. Defense penetration increases to 60% when full stacks of Sunder are consumed. 60% defense penetration. That's what Twyla is almost. Twyla, I think, gets 80%. Maybe even just 60%. Either way, this is just the A1. Sunder's not that hard to get. 25% chance each basic. His clones can get it too, so as long as he's frequently attacking, they're still stacking up Sunder. He's going to have this very often, which is insane. Guild Boss 2 is gone. These new limiteds have deleted it. It is gone. A2 is extra attack. Decent awakening. Nothing too crazy. A3 is when there are 3 stage clones on the field. Triggering Sage's clone with basic attack will instead increase the hero's attack by 20% for 10 seconds. More attack. He does not need this at all. Okay? Anyways, when there are 3 on the field, that's easy to get. He summons every 3 basics. So every 3 basics, when he has those clones on the field, as long as they don't get murdered by whatever is hitting them, because they do have HP, but he could just spawn them again. When there's a full thing, 20% attack is very good. He's hitting that attack threshold. If you didn't know, there's an attack threshold. If you meet it, you end up doing more damage. It's complicated as hell. Does not make a lot of sense, but just know that attack is incredibly important. It is better than increasing your damage in pretty much all content. The A4 is extra penetration, which is great. That is always really good. And the A5, the final awakening, for those whales who want to get them. This hero also gains 60% final damage reduction for 5 seconds when full stacks of Sunder are consumed. As you can see here, if you want to look at this, it also says Enhance Golden Glare. I do not know what that means. Oh, Enhance Golden Glare? Essentially, I don't really know what that's going to end up doing, but it might get changed. Keep in mind, everything here is up to change, but that A5 is pretty interesting there too. Keep in mind, this is also probably going to be on the clones, which are going to keep them alive for a bit longer. That's very cool. As you can see, this guy is freaking disgusting and nasty as hell. I don't know who let them be this strong. As you can see, I mean, you could kind of dissect it a bit. Correct me in the comments if you want. I may not have said everything right. I don't really analyze these as much as I should before I read them, just because I find it to be more interesting for me to freak out, because it's insane. But this is the best limited. I think that's not up to debate, even if they nerf the hell out of him before release, which I don't think they should, because he should be very strong. He's going to be very good. You're going to want to get him to A3 if you can, I would say. A1 minimum, I would say. And just do your best. He's the next thing. Honestly, he's so good. After the Twyla Hex banner, either save for Bubba if you want Bubba, or save for this guy. I do have a kind of estimated release date though, which I will put on the screen. I don't remember it right now. I know Rokanchi said it at some point, what he thinks it'll be out. But there's some sort of holiday or celebration on like around January or so, and that is when he is projected to drop. So we have about 2 months, 3 months or so to get this sort of thing ready, and he should be coming out. He's going to be very, very good. Now, there is also an Allure artifact if you want to read it, and this thing which I opened with is going to be something that's called Wukong's Gift. I assume this is related to his event in some way, but I don't know. Like I said, this is still up to change. He might be changed a little bit before release or something. I do not know, but just keep in mind that this is kind of early draft stuff. He is still 2 or 3 months out, is what we are predicting, and I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen there, but just know he is coming soon. He is pretty much completely ready to be released, and I'm freaking hyped. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and Destined out.